study advice on YouTube. Too much. But here's my take on some of that advice. Advice number 1 is don't spend too much time on researching resources and language tools.
Really a mistake that people make, but I think it's easy for people to fall into the trap of looking for the best resource.
Well, definitely failed on that one. I'm pretty sure I spent almost 3 months just researching. I was just watching YouTube videos, researching what book to use, what app to use to learn vocabulary. Like, I think I had an obsession to find just the best thing out there. So I definitely didn't follow that advice. To be honest, I don't think I regret it. I really enjoyed that process of researching, of trying to warm up myself to the idea of learning Japanese and seeing what's out there and what type of people are learning Japanese, like what they're using to learn Japanese. I just enjoyed that process. If you're like me and you enjoyed that process, why not? I really loved it. Warms you up to it. It's great. Number 2 is use a textbook.
I should have spent a little bit more time on a grammar textbook.
That was great advice. There was a part of me that considered not using a textbook. There are quite a few videos out there suggesting that that's possible. How to learn Japanese without a textbook. I definitely appreciate having bought one. I use Genki, the 3rd edition. I'm learning this from scratch, so having a textbook, even if I'm not going to an actual class, gives me that tiny bit of structure to stick to something. Advice number 3 is set yourself very clear goals that you can work towards.
Firstly, it's so important to set yourself some goals and plan how you're going to learn.
Shall we talk about that? I recently went to Switzerland.
I'm skiing for a week. I made some plans to continue studying Japanese, set myself some little goals. So I just hope I can get some hours squeezed in to do that.
As you can see, I had very high hopes for my holiday. Skiing away in Switzerland, dreamy Switzerland, and some might say my goals were not achievable. Smart goals, not a smart goal. But I was really confident I could do it. At the beginning of it, I genuinely thought I could do it. I photographed all of my Genki lectures, I had all of my kind of flashcards ready, and I thought it really isn't going to be a big deal, especially because I got the coach to Switzerland, which is 19 hours just sitting around in a bus. I thought surely I can use those 19 hours to get a little bit of Japanese study in. Yeah, I utterly failed. I did 0. I did nothing. I came back and I had not reviewed any vocab and my wanikani just exploded with reviews. I think it took me 3 days to catch up on my reviews that I didn't do. I don't know, maybe reframing what goals actually mean would be quite interesting. Does a goal necessarily look like having to learn 10 kanji each day or doing 1 lecture every month? Or can a goal actually be, do you know what, in a year's time, I would just love to have a very short conversation with my grandma. Or in a year's time, I would really love to read Yotsuba. Maybe that's impossible. Some of you have suggested that it's a very hard thing to do. It's not just about setting goals. I feel like it's very much about figuring out what type of goal you want to set yourself based on what you're enjoying and what's fun about learning Japanese. I just want learning Japanese to be fun. Advice number 4, use Anki.
2 Anki decks.
Called Anki.
Digital flashcards with Anki.
I think so many people advise to use Anki. And to be honest, I can't advise against it purely because I don't use it. But I have just made a choice in my research that I really wanted to use Wanikani. It's also a tool that lets you basically learn vocabulary and learn kanji. As much as people have been advising to use Anki, I think that's probably great. And maybe one day I will pick it up. Definitely, I'm not putting that kind of advice down. I just love how Wanikani looks, how it feels when I go through all of the reviews, how easy it is. It's setting out everything for me. There's barely any setup I have to do. It's just a great thing for me to slide into. I just wanted to look fun, be fun, and Anki so far for me didn't look that appealing, even though I understand everyone goes on about it. It's great. Maybe one day I'll pick it up. We'll see how it goes. Advice number 5 that so many people go on about and is a dreamy advice is immersion. To listen and hear and and speak and read and constantly immerse yourself with the language.
I was basically immersed in Japanese 100% of the time, and I could never escape speaking Japanese in any situation.
I think that's a dreamy idea, and I think that's probably actually the best way to do it. I can definitely imagine spending 3 months in Japan tops any other way to learn the language. The reality though is that I'm not going to go to Japan anytime soon. I have a full-time job. I'm just, where are the hours where I could immerse myself other than sometimes watching a few Japanese Netflix series? So I think immersion is a dreamy idea and I want to do it as much as I can, but the reality of where I am, and maybe even the reality for most people studying Japanese on the side, is that the hours in the day aren't there for you to really absorb the language through immersion in a way that it would be so effective for your language learning. I think maybe there's an aspect of balancing that advice with what is your circumstance at the moment. So those were 5 of the most common pieces of advice that I found on StudyTuber. And can I just say, on the side, I am so impressed by everyone on YouTube sharing their journey about studying Japanese. I kind of, most of the time, want to just be like friends with everyone who's sharing their experience and putting out their advice and how they've done it. Pretty amazing people around. I've taken in so much of their advice. Literally, I think you should watch all of their videos as well. I'll pop some down in the description where I got my favorite advice from, but pretty good community out there. Very fun. I can't wait to maybe join it somehow. But I have joined them. It's just great people out there. I, as I've mentioned before, really want to make studying Japanese fun for myself. It's genuinely something I'm doing on the side to explore who I am, to explore Japan and me. What's helped me so far in these last 8 months has been to kind of figure out what aspects about the study journey I enjoy the most. And for me personally, that's been learning kanji, not even in context within a sentence. I've just really been enjoying learning these characters and really enjoying and getting satisfaction out of recognizing them, and I think that's a great first step for me personally. I really also genuinely enjoy learning grammar. I know that sounds a little bit nerdy. So much advice out there is about just throwing yourself into conversation and not being worried about making mistakes, and totally agree with that. But I've just noticed that myself, I just really enjoy getting into that theoretical side of a language, and so I'm going to push into that. Yeah, I think that's something to take into account, is if you feel there are aspects about studying Japanese that you really enjoy and you get a little bit of satisfaction out, that's just one little thing that's going to make you study the next day again and the next day again, even if it's the weirdest little satisfaction you can get out of it. Yeah, that's from me. Thank you for all the comments you've posted so far. They're really sweet. I've taken so much of it in already. If there is anything you think about all the pieces of advice I've shared on this video, or anything else you want to add, comment, let me know. I'm excited. Let's do this. Study Japanese.